So that is these are the stories that we want to tell today. And you see so many people here eager to tell their stories. I want to start with Dr. Prema Kodandaraman and her husband, Sri Nithya Natarajananda. And both of them are going to share their stories on their journey with Swamiji, how they came to meet him, and how his presence in their life has transformed them. So first I'll start with Dr. Prema. Dr. Prema, you are Nithyanandam, so nice to see you. And you've known Swamiji for a very long time, and you're a doctor, and you're an extremely successful doctor. So one thing we want to know is how Swamiji's teachings about Hinduism and related to Hinduism, his teachings about health and mental health and understanding, how that has evolved you as a doctor and how it has helped you be a doctor. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes, Nithyananda. So, when I went to medical school, fellowship, came to US, did my training and fellowship, almost I spent about 14 years. Mostly I was practicing medicine only with my intellectual learning, like from the books and from the knowledge we gained through our training. But once you get to know Swamiji and doing the programs and listening to him about health and everything, you yourself become a miracle to yourself, like the wisdom inside growing about health and everything. It changed the whole even understanding of health of the people, like understanding like how what's medicine is, like the way you practice, the way you approach, the way the diagnosing, treatment, everything is totally different. And the work, it becomes so effortless, and so many things, so many incidences I want to share, sometimes before you do the protocol to treat patients, but once with Swamiji's, this energy and always you even without you getting the test or lab results or ultrasound, you have that body scanning skills, you diagnose, you treat, and it's like a effortless work has become very effortless. And even the patients, they feel the difference, not like just a regular doctor giving a prescription. It's more than that. It's not just knowing what my specialty is. It's more than, even if a patient comes not with the gynecology issue, I can say she has a thyroid problem, she has. So it's the wisdom grown inside by being with him and knowing about health. It's not through the training, it's more than what the colleges and the universities teach. So that it's different.
Great, Ma. So I know you've been with Swamiji for a very long time. And can you say something about your journey to being a Karta? You're already a Sarvagna Pita Yajaman. Can you say something about how your journey to being a Yajaman and then your journey to being a Karta has enriched your life? How has that changed your life?
Yeah. I think each time, you want to become a Sarvanya Pita, that all the patterns about money, holding on to it, are insecurities, and what about tomorrow? What about my kids? What about everything? So then the minute I think of Swamiji, I can give anything to him, okay, it's just a small amount of money. Then I always go through that conflict. Once okay, it's let me contribute, and then so once you do it, and as I see that whatever you're giving, as always, Swamiji doesn't need anything from us, but what comes back is more than 10 times or 100 times, or you cannot measure it. So when I wanted to be a Sarvanya Pida, that, how my mind was restricted, my cognition was restricted with the money. Once I get liberated from that, what I am creating now is 10 times more. And I don't have those. That's permanently, that karma is permanently removed from me. And once I say, okay, when I can be a Sarvanya Pida, that, the karta was even at the initial level, okay, what if my kids don't get a job, or some kind of fear will come, unknown insecurity feelings. But once I complete with that, like the abundance opens inside of me, I see the abundance is created outside. So I used to see 25 patients getting tired at the end of the day. Now I see 50 patients. And then, so sometimes so many miracles, like I'll be thinking of something, it happens. So like even to hire people, I'll be struggling with hiring people. Now, like they are just walking into my life, whether I hired a new doctor and a new nurse practitioner, and even the help I want, like the minute I kind of think about it, think of Swamiji, so that abundance is, the more I contribute, I see the abundance. I'm not giving it to Swamiji. I'm actually blessing myself. Whatever I was suffering with, I need to this much work to create this much work to do. Now it's like there is no counting, there is no thinking, there is no effort, there is no and then I see, hey, like it's not just Swamiji wants anything from us. He's taking out our own restrictions and our own patterns of restricting wealth, and it's not always hard work to create it. And you can create by you cherishing abundance inside, the abundance happens outside. So that's why I'm happy that he gives me the opportunity to do that.
That's great, Ma. I think this is the testament of Swamiji and also the ecosystem that he has created here in LA that allows for people who even come to the temple to feel this and get connected to Swamiji. Thank you for sharing it. Very quickly, I know you have a great Swamiji for the very first time, and that's a very sweet. If you could share that with others, that I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I always like to share my very first experience with Swamiji. I really will make it brief because I made so many videos about it too. Like before Swamiji, the life was so routine, going to college and coming home, relatives, eating, sleeping, getting lots of degrees and focusing on it. But I know only my workplace, the hospital and house. I'm not a person who goes out to meet people, or I'll never meet a new people quickly, like it's my home or my work. I know I always how that compassion of Swamiji, to come to the workplace where I have to see one of his disciples as my patient, and I had to do a surgery. And in the waiting room, Swamiji with few other disciples were waiting as a family to her. And I just went and casually met him, shake his hands, and started talking to him in Tamil. And then he said, oh, where are you from? I said, my grandparents are from Tiruvannamalai. He said, oh, you're from Tiruvannamalai. I'm from Tiruvannamalai. So those introduction, even though it was very casual and friendly, and that kind of turned my whole life like an instant connection and an instant love. And I don't know who he was, but I never met something like him in my life. That curiosity grew. And then I just started going behind him in LA, everywhere, reading his books, listening to him. And it's like I was a stone and he made me like a statue, but it was so no pain, no effort, no effort on my side. The instant love has grown into a unlimited love towards him. And I know Swamiji showers back millionfold. So if it was not a hospital, I was wondering where could I even met him? So even his grace, avan arulale, avan thalpaninde. So that's, I think it's this life's blessing to meet Swamiji in that way, that from that point, I was not focusing more on outer world. I started focusing, okay, it's all inside of me, in me, and Swamiji revealed so much for my transformation.
That's so beautiful, Ma. And I wanted to translate the sentence that you said, Avan Arulale, Avantal Vadangi, which means even to fall at Swamiji's feet, to worship him, you need his blessing, right? So I think the key thing is everyone who is here in today already have received the blessing. So we just have to fall
Yeah.
at his feet. That's it. I think that's the key thing. Anybody who comes to in contact with Swamiji, who's heard about him, watched a program, he's already blessed you. We just need to now take that blessing and make that a reality in our life. It's a very simple step forward. You take one step, he takes the next million steps towards you. Thank you so much, Ma. That was so beautiful. Now, I would like to ask Sri Nithya Natarajananda to say a few words. I know he's an entrepreneur and he is a really successful entrepreneur in the LA area. And Aya, can you say a little bit about your journey to being an entrepreneur? Maybe we can start with your journey to being a Hindu first, and then we can talk about your journey to being an entrepreneur.
If I might add here before Sri Natarajananda starts, he is also the force behind Dr. Prema Kodanraman. While she is the doctor attending to the patients, he is the person who takes care of all the other sundries, all the other aspects of their business and things like that. So together they have a beautiful journey with Swamiji's blessings.
Yes.
I would definitely say that because of being with Swamiji, we definitely are a force behind each other. I mean, how much she had contributed for me to change also is tremendous. Yes, we've been behind each other, supporting and being part of this beautiful journey with Swamiji. Yes. Like Ma Muktika was sharing at the beginning, I also grew up in a Hindu family, but my formative years, I was agnostic, being part of the Dravidian movement, didn't care about, because nobody has introduced me to Hinduism, right? What it means. Nobody was there to answer my intrinsic questions about life, spirituality, and more importantly, Hinduism, deity worship, and all that. And but I was like any other kids growing up in India. You follow your parents, but you were not at the being level connected, because you didn't at the intellectual level understand the context, what it means to be a Hindu. Until I met Swamiji through my Prema meeting him, and then she brought me in. Everything has changed. It actually goes to speak about the importance of Kailasa. If one person like me who grew up in that environment, even though I grew up in India, I was so ignorant, right? It's so important that the Kailasa as an ecosystem has to reach. And everything we could do in our capacity, with our time, talent, and treasure, to ensure that happens is our number one priority in life. Just okay, what does that mean to not only understanding Hinduism, but once I started imbibing his teachings, his cognitions, how I changed all my patterns and started manifesting. Just give you one example, I used to, just like my dad, was just an engineer, like a software engineer working for a company 9 to 5, a typical Indian-born employee in the US. That was my life. But since Swamiji, I literally do 10 different things. It's got nothing to do with my bachelor's education. It was nothing to do with my master's education. It's all about life. But everything from running a practice to real estate and other entrepreneurship, and how I conduct myself. And I take, there cannot be a better CEO than Swamiji as the cosmic CEO. I've been with him running Sangha meetings, for example. That alone, that from micromanaging to the detail to the macro view of his vision, how he was able to transform that to the people around him, right? And that to me was the biggest takeaway for me. So I could apply that in everything that I do. The 10 different things that I do, 10 different hats that I wear, the principles, the approach, the inner space with which you approach your responsibilities, completely transformed. So that's an example of how the Hindu way of living, being part of the Kailasa, has affected me, has changed me personally, right? So every day I think about, hey, if I can benefit like this, there are literally billions of Hindus and billions of other people who are seeking something like that. And that's why Kailasa is so important. And we are so blessed being part of the Kailasa Los Angeles. I can share stories about how Swamiji started the temple, the programs he conducted, the personal space that he shared with us. Amazing journey, and I'm extremely blessed and full of gratitude for how he had transformed me personally. Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. Could you say a little bit more about, you initially touched upon this relationship between Dr. Prema and you, right? And I wanted you to say a little bit more, maybe both of you, both Dr. Prema and Kumaraya, you can talk about how being with Swamiji has evolved your relationship with each other. Because I think that's a very important part of life that we tend to miss out on. Like, people don't understand how Swamiji doesn't transform your work, transform you at work, transform you in terms of wealth, but also health and relationships.
Yeah, even a couple of days ago, there was a family discussion about love marriage versus arranged marriage, right? And in that context, we were obviously arranged marriage, but we in fact, one of my friends used to say, hey, you fall in love after the marriage in the Hindu tradition kind of thing. But after Swamiji, and probably we were 10, 15 years into our marriage before we met Swamiji. And then he transformed in our own way what it meant to be married to each other, like fulfilling each other's desires, eliminating each other's fears, pointing out, in fact, I use Swamiji, for example, had completed us, taught us about completion all along without for a minute making us feel that we were incomplete, right? It is such a profound transforming somebody. And that's how I see our relationship as husband and wife, as parents, transformed. Yes, there will be like a typical marriage, there will be disagreements, words exchanged and all that. But those, it even to cognize that, hey, like Prema was talking about, when you are trying to chisel a deity out of a stone, there will be pain, right? That actually strengthened us, they strengthened the relationship and made us to realize exactly what it means to be married in the Hindu lifestyle. From the way we cook, from the way we deal with our kids, from the way we deal with our outer world responsibilities. It's amazing, natural, organic growth along the way. I mean, I would, I talked to a lot of my friends about, hey, this is, in fact, we watch Sita and Raman almost every day lately, and we take that as an example, how they live the Hindu way of married life. And every one of the Sanatana Hinduism's principle about family, married life, and all that has definitely shaped our own personal life.
And I think to add there is, being part of the ecosystem, how that has evolved all this for you, right?
Can I say a few things?
Yeah.
I think before it's unconscious, insensitive, emotional, attachment, expectation. Once Swamiji comes, the signs of completion. Now it's selfless, loving, no judgment, and accepting. And it's like the completion science helps every family, like dropping our own expectation of, I think Swamiji's earliest video will say oh, you don't cut the other person for your expectation. It'll have pain and bleeding. But you are, by being sensitive, loving, you accept as it is. And then there is a flowering of like understanding and loving, but no expectation, no attachment, nothing. It's just pure love and helping their journey. And it's also living together and understanding that each one is there for their own purpose and own life, and understanding life as a bigger, not in a selfish way of, but in a bigger thing. And then usually even with my daughters, with my everything is has changed, and it's all Swamiji's blessing, the signs of completion.
It's beautiful. Mom, Prema and I would like to ask you all, how are you feeling enriched by living in this LA ecosystem that Swamiji has created for all of you all? And how is that journey been?
See, LA is our family. Like in LA, temple is our being, our soul, where Swamiji lives, where Swamiji's energy is. I think like I feel all our LA Sangha is more than anyone else. It's like a cosmic family. And no matter what, like you are in the outer world, what you feel sometimes, like, you go back to temple, it's like an instant charger, like instant enthusiasm. Like, you can't even compare. To be very lucky to be in LA and to be part of our temple, and to LA is like, gave us a lot of miracles, to meet Swamiji, to be seeing him physically for a long time, and then to be part of our temple. And we have the great, like, the Mahant and Sri Mahant and like all our devotees, like, it's such a beautiful ambience, like Vada Varna for us to continue to live Swamiji's tattvas.
Beautiful, Ma.
One thing I want-
would you like to share your experiences and how are you feeling empowered by living in the ecosystem that Swamiji has created?
Actually, being part of the LA Kailasa over the years, it extended my, what I previously talked about, taking ownership of something and taking it to completion, no matter, whatever failures that comes along the way. That the enrichment that happens inside myself to take on tasks that you wouldn't even dream about taking on before. The renovation to when we install the new deities, how we were able to manifest so many things. It's just like 0.5% of what Swamiji did when he initially started the temple. But what I clearly recall how me being that effort allowed me to go beyond my limited view of what my capacity was, what I am capable of, what I'm achievable, what I could achieve. All that broke. I could deal with, the day laborers on Home Depot, all the way to collecting funds, to, working with the crane operators to install the deity. It's an amazing transformation within myself, and I see that every day. So every time we go there, you walk in the door, you feel like, hey, I'm home again, kind of thing. So that's the kind of Vadavarana that temple carries.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember, like, in LA, I met Swamiji like a teenager. Like he came in and like very easy, and how he put all his time, energy so close with devotees. I have so many doctor friends, they share that he visited their house, and like many people in Arcadia and Pasadena. And also like how in Duarte, the ashram, we all will go, like Swamiji very casually do rituals there, homa there, and just you can see him close by. And like, even Puja Divya, that when Swamiji is at temple, they will go 10 times to get his hugging. He will hug and bless and buy his books. And I know Swamiji's vision for LA Sangha, it's the Western headquarters, and it's the second Bidadi, like, it's, and we know, like, personally, that how Swamiji spent so much time in LA Sangha and the deities and Prana Pratishtha he did. And we are so blessed to see from the seed and to grow. And it's like, I know that the LA is going to be like, is the one of the real, like, the world class temple, like world class, how do you say, extension of our ability. So by being part of it for a long time, then I do wish like every one of the whole world to be benefit by that.
Beautiful. Sarvanyapita are the establishments that are created whenever you see a decline in the way the Sanatana Hindu Dharma grows. The main pillars of Sanatana Hindu Dharma is the temple infrastructure, followed by the language and the culture. Any of these pillars, one of these pillars says decline or destruction, that is when Avatar descends and revives the entire Sarvanyapita to establish the Dharma back and to lead the people to the original purpose of life, which is living enlightenment. And Swamiji has revived these Sarvanyapita. On one hand, Swamiji has revived all the ancient kingdoms, Hindu kingdoms, 21 Hindu kingdoms Swamiji has revived. Swamiji has established these Sarvanyapitas across all the different places in the globe to revive the Sanatana Hindu Dharma and inspire, empower people in the science of living enlightenment. So what you're seeing today is such a beautiful representation of the LA ecosystem, where the family who has completely just soaked in the love of Swamiji and how their personal lives, their relationships, their career, in all dimensions, you can literally feel that how Swamiji has empowered them in all their dimensions and how they are able to radiate the space of living enlightenment. And this is exactly what will happen when Kailasa is established in every part of the world. And that is the main aim of the Sarvanyapita project. Establishing these ecosystems all across the globe and making the every product of Sanatana Hindu Dharma in a user-friendly manner. So I request all the participants and viewers today, if you feel inspired to be part of this Sarvanyapita project, you can sign up in the intention sksjp.org, and we are going to be having many more powerful sharings of LA ecosystem, how this ecosystem has empowering them in the individual capacity and globally also. So next, we're going to be having Muktikama and Muktayo would like to share who are we going to bring in the panel today. Next.
Thank you, Ma. SJP, the vision of SJP is so powerful, what you shared. I feel that everyone has to be part of it, right? It is like when Sri Krishna established his, dharma into the world. There are people who stood with him, there are people who stood against him, and then there are people who stood neutral, right? Today, who do we remember? We remember the people who stood for him. And the people who stood against him, we remember, but not for good reasons. And the people who stood neutral, we don't remember them at all, right? So I think those who stand with Swamiji today and become part of SJP, support his SJPs, support Kailasa worldwide, are going to be remembered as pioneers of the new world, of this world where love, it becomes the operating system. The oneness becomes the operating system. So I feel that everybody who has any opportunity to even start today by saying, okay, I'm going to start with $5, $10, whatever you want to start with, right? It's like starting with it today to support Sri Kailasa, becoming an SJP is the best step forward. So one thing I want to do now is we will show a small video. Now that we heard a little bit about LA temple and the Kailasa LA ecosystem, let's watch a short video about Kailasa LA.
Inaugurated in 2007 by His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, Nithyanandeshwara Hindu Temple Los Angeles is a growing spiritual ecosystem in the United States. As Tirtha Sthalam and Punya Kshetra of Nithyananda Sangha, this temple is the home of more than 50 deities, including some of the largest murtis of Rajarajeshwari, Venkateshwara, Sadashiva, and Parashakti. His Divine Holiness himself performed the Prana Pratishta and Kumbhabhishekam rituals during the temple's inauguration in 2007. blessings of His Divine Holiness, the LA Sangha has continued to maintain the temple rituals for the past 12 years, including offering daily Abhishekam to Sri Nithyananda. Inaugurated in 2007 by His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, Nithyanandeshwara Hindu Temple, Los Angeles is a growing spiritual ecosystem in the United States. As Tirtha Sthalam and Punya Chetra of Nithyananda Sangha, this temple is the home of more than 50 deities, including some of the largest murtis of Rajarajeshwari, Venkateshwara, Sadashiva, and Parashakti. His Divine Holiness himself performed the Prana Pratishta and Kumbhabhishekam rituals during the temple's inauguration in 2007. With the blessings of His Divine Holiness, the LA Sangha has continued to maintain the temple rituals for the past 12 years, including offering daily Abhishekam to Sri Nithyanandeshwara Paramashiva Linga, observing major Hindu festivals such as Mahashivaratri, Kartigai Deepam, Navaratri, Diwali, and many more, while also performing homas and other services typically offered in Hindu temples.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the video. That's such a beautiful video. Now, can we can go on to Dr. Peter Bloomfield, who is also a Karta of Sarvagnya Pida. And Dr. Peter Bloomfield would love to talk to you about your experience. I know you are born, when you were born, you were not a practicing Hindu. And over a period of time, you met Swamiji, you started practicing Hinduism in your life. Can you say something about that journey?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sri Mukta. Thank you guys for having me. It is a pleasure to be here today, this Los Angeles panel. So yes, I was, unlike the people who have spoken previously, I was not a born Hindu. And I was born into a kind of Catholic slash Protestant family, but mostly agnostic and almost atheistic. So I had no real spiritual context for the world and was just going through material world. And then basically in my family was pretty much on the same page, right? So then I had just kind of spontaneous spiritual awakenings happen. And then I didn't know it at the time, but it was intense Kundalini awakening happening. And the world just started to look different to me. And I started having a number of mystical experiences where I experienced, I could just tell I was experiencing the world differently from everyone around me. And sometimes it was in a really blissful way, and sometimes it was in a scary way, all different types of ways. And I started to look into spirituality and still didn't really think much of Hinduism. I started doing yoga, but even yoga is often painted as more like Buddhist almost. In every yoga studio, there will be like a Buddha. So then it doesn't really connect to Hinduism as it's offered very much throughout the West. So then I started doing various spiritual paths. I tried out many, many different things. And I was having, I could say really powerful experiences, but I always knew, I was like, this isn't quite it. I'm enjoying this part of the ride, this part of the journey, but this isn't my, this isn't my coach all the way home kind of thing. So I was still kind of looking all the time. And then I met someone who was a strong, very committed disciple of Swamiji, and she just had this extra layer of bliss. And I one thing, led to another in terms of experiences, and Swamiji knows how to speak to our listening. And I got the clear message that I needed to go meet him. And then, once I saw him, it was the end of the story, right? I was just finished. So I had no traditional Hindu backing, no traditional Hindu background. And even when I became Hindu, it was more like I'm with Swamiji, right? And then by definition, that meant Hindu. Love and connection to Swamiji, that was the basis for that shift in me. And then it just became natural to say, okay, then yeah, I'm Hindu. if being with Swamiji and following what he says and just enjoying him means being Hindu, then I'm for sure Hindu, right? And so I didn't have a big grasp of what that meant. But then as time has gone on, I've learned all I've read a bunch of books, I've studied the Puranas, I've had experiences with the deities and all that, and I've really gotten a very clear sense that the experiential reality that is pervading and permeating the world is taught from Sanatana Hindu Dharma, and that it's the ultimate, it's the ultimate way to relate to the world and the existential reality. So it's a very big shift for me. And even at the hospital, when I'm working, even when I'm not wearing these things, people know I'm different. And part of it is the accent, and they try to put like, where are you from? Like, what are you about? And then part of it is just the way I talk and the way I relate. It's just so different from how other people are relating. And then they're like, so like, what are you? Right? And I'm like, oh, I'm Hindu. And they're like, oh, really? I didn't know you could do that almost. Like, it's like shocks to their system, right? And then if I ever wear the kumkum, they ask me if it's Ash Wednesday. And I'm like, well, it's not even Wednesday, so it can't be Ash Wednesday, right? So people have trouble figuring out, what that's all about. But I feel, for me, that shift to Hinduism is just so foundational to my life and to my, stepping into the reality of who I am as an Atma, who I am as a being. And so, I enjoyed every step. I think, there are many people out here that are watching that were not born Hindu, right? There's some that are born Hindu, some are born Indian, Hindu light, all different stripes. But I think when Swamiji came, he brought so many people here with him to make this Kailasa happen, to make this Satyuga happen. Many of us were born into non-Hindu backgrounds, right? And so I feel the people who are born in a Hindu background are very blessed to have everything. I know there's all kinds of other nuances and aspects to it. But even those of us who are born in a non-Hindu background, Swamiji's calling to us as well, right? And when he calls us, he can call us really, really strong and really hard. And so I didn't, invite anyone out there, regardless of your background, you can become an extremely strong and committed and realized Hindu in this life. Because you have Swamiji, everything is fast track, right? And he can clean out, all kinds of things in your DNA, and you just become a Nithyananda Gotra, right? And so that's been my experience. And I think, it's a possibility for anyone who's in a human body on this planet who has the cognitive capacity to run to Swamiji, they should get up and run like that.
That is such an amazing story and journey from where you were born to becoming Nithyananda Gotra. So thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask you, you're on your journey, you're now a Karta, and that's a beautiful journey. And can you say a little bit more about how your journey to being a Karta has evolved you and, grown you to this level?
Yeah, sure. And I'll say, everyone comes from a different wealth background. And to become an SJP Yajaman is a big thing. Like for me, that was a huge leap, but I could do that. There are a lot of people in the world who have a net worth of, enough to become a Yajaman if they put everything into it, right? So that's one thing, but there's much less people who can become a Karta, right? Not many people are sitting around on $1 million US, even with inflation and all that. Still, it's a very big sum. So even just to become a Karta, there's a vanishing number of people who can comfortably do that, right? Very small number. And then, still a very small number of people who can do it if they put all their chips there, right? And most people, if they put all their chips there, they cannot become a Karta anyway, because not that many people have that many chips, right? So to be a Yajaman, I just had to put all my chips in and say, okay, fine, let's see what happens, right? But then to become a Karta took something else, right? And I didn't have a strong cognition that I should become a Karta, but I knew I wasn't done with Swamiji, and I'll do whatever he wants and whatever it takes and all that. I'll just do it. And so I got the combination of a logical investment that I think should make sense logically. And then Swamiji had mentioned in a little bit tangentially in a satsang, and whenever it's something like that, I like take note and write it down. Oh, Swamiji gives blessings for this. Okay, good. And then I had a direct darshan of a deity, right? All saying the same thing. And so I said, okay, fine. Whatever chips I have left and have, because once you become a yajaman, you'll get more chips given to you, right? So you just naturally will come into more wealth. So I took all that and I'm like, okay, fine. I get it from all sides, logically, cosmologically, everything. I'll just put all this into this. And then boom, suddenly like, oh, I can become a karta. And at the time when I could become a karta, or when it was time, I could have become, I had more than was needed, right? And then I had when it was time to give, I was reluctant to give, and I watched as it start to melt away. And just in time, I was like, okay, take, put it. That's good. So that was a whole other thing. But and I can't say it was an easy and smooth internal process. I'm laughing about it now, but at the time it was very different. But by through that process, the whole attachment to money and the whole drama around money just gets melted. So now I know, like, someone could say, what is your wealth? Like, how much is in your bank account or whatever? And I'm like, I have this much, it's fine. But I just know the whole system is cleaned out. I just know whatever I need, it'll just come. And it's kind of like fun to watch. So like last program, I was sort of invited to declare for Ishvara, right? Ishvara is the next level after Karta. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Because no problem, because then whatever, I'll just line up with Swamiji and somehow it'll make it happen. And I get to kind of sit back and watch it, because for anyone out there, most of us have money issues, right? Most of us are born with intense fear around money and all that. When you line up with Swamiji and you promise it to Swamiji, then it just has to come through, right? It'll come through for that reason. And then when you give it, all the things just get cleaned out. And then you just know you can manifest as much money as you need, and the whole money becomes no drama. It's so counterintuitive to the Scrooge McDuck mind. But like the best way to have no fear about money is just give it away. Then suddenly you're like, okay, it's just there. I have nothing to worry.
Actually, I'd like to add to what you're saying, Peter. Swamiji recently shared that there's not a single person in this world who became bankrupt by giving. Only when you spend, you may become bankrupt, but when you give, you're only showered, right? When you were sharing your journey, it just reminded me of what Swamiji has told. Like, you became a Sarvangapita Yajaman, then you started your steps. If I'm correct in understanding what you said, you started your steps, and over a short amount of time, you actually manifested the money that's required for Sarvangapita Karta, and maybe even more than what you required. And you went through that internal process of, dropping all the insecurities and fear, whatever is stopping you in this journey, dropping all of that, and jumped it to become a Sarvangapita Karta, and now you're working for Pitadishwar. That's like a quantum jump, right? Like literally how Swamiji is giving that shifts and breakthrough within each and every person. Even from the space of giving, you're only showered more and more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, people who win the lottery, they usually end up like bankrupt and depressed, right? Because they get this money they didn't earn, and then they spend it all, and then they just feel miserable, right? Whereas when you sign up to be a SJP or a Karta, then the money will come to you, you'll earn it one way or another, and then you'll give it away. It's the complete opposite, right? So you end up, you may not have all this money in your bank account, but you have complete freedom around money, right? The people who are given all this money and then they just blow it and waste it, right? Thinking it'll make them happy. Instead, they end up unhappy and broke too, right? So, so when you're in the space of giving it away, you end up, you become like this, just like they talk about a magnet, right? You just know the wealth will come to you. Then you have complete ease and freedom. It is such a gift. I know it's hard for me to say now after the conversations we had about a year and a half ago, but it's such a gift to give it away. It really is. It really is. I needed some convincing, but now I know experientially, right? I know the value of it. So thank you for that.
That's beautiful. Peter, so I would like to ask you this question. So what do you feel as the key, to have this jump from being a Sarvangapita Yajaman to Karta? What is that one element if you, like to share with all the viewers? From your personal journey, what do you think that that is really important, or one shift that all of us must have?
Yeah, sure. To go from SJP from Yajaman to Karta.
Yeah.
I will say, you just have to feel. You should not feel satisfied with yajaman is what I would say. See, some people could say, good, I've become a yajaman. Now I can get personal time with Swamiji, or I can do this program or that program, right? Hey, they said they'll make some deity of me. Good, I can just sit back and I know there'll be a deity, right? And just relax. No, you cannot. That's not the way to get to Karta. The way to Karta is to say, I've just barely turned on the spigot of this operation, right? Let's put this to 11 and see what it sounds like, right? Let's go to next level. And it's like a form of tejos, right? Just like I want to continue to expand, right? And I have a complete excitement. So you can sit back and relax. Even if you're just Swamiji's disciple, you can say, I'm just going to relax, and when I die, he'll come whisk me away to Kailasa, right? But you can say, no, I want to go to the next level, right? I want to bring this whole thing into the planet and have the exuberance and the enthusiasm of saying, okay, I've been able to support in this way, but that's not enough. I want to do more. I want to support more. I want this physical body to be useful for more and a higher level, right? Because I know when I do that, my whole system will get upgraded constantly. So it's a form of tejos, right? It's a SJP tejos, you could say. Should not be satisfied with yajaman. There's next level.
That's beautiful. And one of the things which I remember from our conversations, one of the things which you mentioned on your journey towards Karta, that you really want to move to the temple, move next to the temple, and be surrounded with the LA ecosystem. So that's something so profound, right? So, somebody is saying that, okay, I want to take this jump as Saramipita Karta, and I also want to be closer to the temple. That really shows that how much temple has influenced positively your inner space, and that makes you to take that jump. Somebody shifting houses and then wanting to be around the temple, so you can spend more time with the deities and contribute to the ecosystem more and more. So what inspired you to take this kind of a quantum shift, especially coming from a completely different background and learning about Hinduism, and then taking care of deities and totally in this a complete 180 degree shift? So what really inspired you, and how what would you like to share with all of our viewers about how ecosystem is so important today for us to learn and enrich each other with all the values that Sanatana Hindu Dharma has given us? Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. And I feel we could talk about the Los Angeles ecosystem for days. There's so much material, huh? It's very rich. But I was before I moved here, I was living in Venice Beach, which is a very desirable, posh environment. And I had a good rent control. I had a great deal. I was basically living at the beach, just across the street from the beach, for very cheap. But then I just knew, once I had said before, I had mystical experiences and awakening, and started to see the existential reality of the world. And so even I would be looking at the beach and the ocean, and it's aesthetically very beautiful, but the energy I just know is not right. It's not the highest dharma through that space, right? And then I would come to Montclair, and if you ever go to the LA temple, the surroundings of the LA temple is not as of yet an ornate Vedic architectural environment, right? The surroundings, I'm saying, it's in a downtown area, and I know what it's going to become, but it looks very different from Venice Beach, you could say. But then just going there, this intense bliss happens, and I just know I would come to the temple, even just driving down the streets of Central Avenue to Montclair and all that. I'd come to the temple, this intense bliss will happen, and then I'll spend the time at the temple doing deity seva or whatever activity we're doing, and then I'll drive back, and it's like as soon as you leave there's a certain area on the 10 when you're going into LA, and it's like you leave the energy field of the temple. And then I start to feel like a heaviness begin. And then you go into LA proper, and then you go into, the beach towns and all that. And the ambient energy is so different. So I just knew, hey, I just want to be here. Fundamentally, I think probably everyone here would love to sit at Swamiji's feet for millions of years, right? There's no other place to be, right? And then as close as I can get to that is being right next to the temple right now, right? So I just wanted to create that possibility. And I'd say moving here, just moving here is a big challenge. People will find things come up and barriers and obstacles just to move here, right? So you have to overcome all those. And then once you move here, then adjusting is a whole other thing, right? And it's a very strong energy field. It's LA Arunachala, right? So it's the fire, right? And so all kinds of things get burned and all that. And then I really feel the last few months, I'm just very settled and very blissful and excited here. So I would encourage, for anyone watching, go to the ecosystem that you can, right? Go to wherever as close to Swamiji's feet as you can get, right? If it's Bididi, that's fine. If it's Trivandrum, right? If you're in the US, then Los Angeles is just an amazing, strong place to come. And actually, we're really beautifully coming together. I can feel the alchemy has been happening. And I really feel 2023 is a breakthrough year for us. So it was a big jump. It was 2021, mid 2021. I was doing them both, right? I didn't know I was doing them both, but I found out I was doing them both. And I feel so grateful to have done it. I'm very excited to see what's next.
That's beautiful, Peter. And see, one of the things that really struck me when Peter was sharing is how the ecosystem supports that spiritual journey, right? Though there are so many places in and around LA, when he moves towards the temple, he's able to feel himself so centered. And that is exactly what Swamiji is doing by establishing these Kailasas all around the world. The impact that Swamiji is giving by these Kailasa ecosystem, it happens in all three levels, whether it is an individual level or at an ecosystem level or at a national or global level. So every single contribution towards the Sarvanyapita is actually towards establishing all these Kailasas around the world. So would like to invite all the participants and viewers, if you're feeling inspired that yes, this is a beautiful thing that's happening in the world, when world is facing so many issues out there, we don't have proper solutions for mental health even till today. We don't have solutions for hunger. We don't have solutions for so many other global problems today. But Swamiji is resolving all of these issues by providing authentic solutions from Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And these ecosystems serves as epicenter where these solutions gets implemented in a personal level and as a community level. So by supporting Sarvanyapita, you are supporting beautiful, blissful ecosystems around the world. So I request all the viewers out there to go ahead and sign up in the link that's being projected, sksjp.org/contribute. And there are many more such beautiful sharings that is awaited in this segment. We'll just take a few minutes break for all the participants and viewers to sign up in sksjp.org/contribute. And if you have any questions towards LA Temple, or how do we become part of LA Temple, and what are the things that you can learn if you want to visit LA Temple, all these questions you can also post them in the NPSM group that's been projected in the window. You can actually, the QR code is being projected, so you can scan the QR code. You will be to a Facebook page, and you can post your questions. And we have the Sri Muktaya who are here, and they can directly answer your questions. So all your questions and feedback or whatever comments you have about LA ecosystem, feel free to post them in the group, and we will go through all your comments.
One thing I wanted to say is, Peter,
Inaugurated in 2007 by His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, Nithyanandeshwara Hindu Temple, Los Angeles is a growing spiritual ecosystem in the United States. As Tirtha Sthalam and Punya Chetra of Nithyananda Sangha, this temple is the home of more than 50 deities, including some of the largest murtis of Rajarajeshwari, Venkateshwara, Sadashiva, and Parashakti. His Divine Holiness himself performed the Prana Pratishta and Kumbhabhishekam rituals during the temple's inauguration in 2007. With the blessings of His Divine Holiness, the LA Sangha has continued to maintain the temple rituals for the past 12 years, including offering daily Abhishekam to Sri Nithyanandeshwara Paramashiva Linga, observing major Hindu festivals such as Mahashivaratri, Kartigai Deepam, Navaratri, Diwali, and many more, while also performing homas and other services typically offered in Hindu temples. The temple also hosts a variety of events throughout the year that contribute towards the enlightenment ecosystem. As the spiritual ecosystem in Los Angeles continues to grow, we invite everyone to experience the temple space and connect with the divine by sitting for daily satsang, pada puja, power manifestation, or by being a part of the various programs and classes offered by the temple throughout the year. As we look towards the future and realizing Swamiji's vision for Los Angeles to have a temple that is fully agamic and a hub for power manifestation, we also invite you to contribute towards the realization of this vision with your time, treasure, or talent.
Yes, that's really a beautiful video. Like, just you can just feel the energy and the celebrations that happens in the LA ecosystem. And we have here Sri Muttaya and Mamuktika, who are joining with us today, sharing many such beautiful events that's happening in LA ecosystem. So I request all the viewers, whatever questions you have, whatever comments and feedbacks you have, you can post it in the MPSN group that's being flashed on the screen now, and we will get to the get to those questions, and they're going to answer live. So can we take a look at the FB page? So while we are taking a few minutes to go to the FB page, I have a question to both of you. I mean, how has it been the journey, the whole journey of being with Swamiji for more than a decade? In 2 lines, if you would like to summarize as a couple, what would you like to share with us?
Isn't that one of the most toughest things to do, summarizing in 2 lines? It's a journey of lifetimes.
Somebody asked me, what have I gotten? I think I have achieved my connection with the cosmos by being with Swamiji, and having the cosmos, Swamiji himself, as the center of our relationship has made the relationship even even better, even tighter. So I think it is having Swamiji in your life is the ultimate thing. I can tell you so many stories where there are certain moments where you need his teaching the most, and he's right there to deliver them. You're sitting there with him, and he tells you some truth that transforms you tremendously. I know we don't have much time, but we want to tell one story where we were both with Swamiji on our journey to Kailash. We were actually in Nepal, and we had stopped there for a few days.
This was which year, Aya? Sorry if I may.
2011.
Okay, 2011. Yes, got it.
And Ma Muktika and I had gone on the trip together. And that is the first trip we were going on together with Swamiji. And for me, I had felt that, if this is a spiritual trip, we should behave like as if we are individuals going on a trip, not someone who's going together. So I would tell her, don't sit next to me in program. Don't sit next to me on the bus. Well, when we go on a boat, we used to go every day in Feva, Lake Feva. We were there, Pokhara, for like 7 days. Every day we would all go to do Pada Puja together with Swamiji sitting right in front. Then we would go to the lake, and Swamiji would get on a boat. He hired 10 boats. We all would get into the boat. We'll go to the middle of the lake, spend time with him. He would chat with all of us, and we come back. So I would tell her, no, don't sit on my boat. Go sit on some other boat. Things like that. It was very, very bad in that moment that I was doing that. So I'd let her tell the rest of the story.
Okay, I didn't expect this.
Actually, Swamiji happened. Let's put it that way. But, he obviously sensed that that's how I perceived a spiritual journey, right? This was the very first time both of us were on a trip together. Normally, I take care of the kids and he goes, or he takes care of the kids, and then I would go for the trip. And this time we went together and be there in the journey with him. And when this was happening, and ideologically, there was a fundamental difference of opinion. And it was not helping me feel that I was on this journey that is going to make me feel good, or that I was getting something out of it. It felt like a challenge right at the get-go. And I didn't have words to express this. How do you share this, or how do you try to come out of this conundrum? And during one of the meditations that we were doing in front of Swamiji, he was putting us through meditations. And at that time, towards the end, there is a part of gratitude. And in that part, I just had tears pouring down because it was so overwhelming that I just couldn't take it. I said, Swamiji, can you do something to help? I don't know what to do in this situation. So when we stepped into the boats, I was sitting and contemplating and sitting quietly. And then suddenly we hear this sound. Somebody is calling out and saying, hey, the boat from Seattle, make sure the boat comes to Swamiji's boat. And at that time we were in Seattle. And so we went close by, and, I was craning my neck where Swamiji was. And then once we got closer, he was sitting. I still remember how Swamiji was sitting on the boat, and, he had his hand, under his chin, and he was looking outside. He was looking at everybody. He was looking at the entire space. And then, he said, at that time, my name was, Paramatmika. And so he said, Ma, you've been looking for me for so long. Come on, tell me what it is. The first thing that actually struck me at the time is, how long is he saying I was looking for him, right? Is it now? Is it in the past lifetimes? The first thing that struck was, oh my God, how long have I been looking for him? And then the second thing I shared immediately, I didn't need another invitation. And I shared the situation that was happening. And I said, look, Swamiji, I feel when you're on a journey together, you're supporting each other and you're, going through the whole process. But Shimukta thinks that he has to do his own thing and I do my own thing. And
let me say, I remember exactly what she said. Okay. I remember word for word. Basically, she said, is spirituality a journey of aloneness? That's what she asked.
Is spirituality a journey or?
Of aloneness.
Okay.
Swamiji said, look, the very last step of enlightenment, even I cannot come with you. You have to walk on your own. That last step you have to take on your own. But till then, I am there with you to the last step of the journey. And there is nothing wrong in sharing the journey with somebody. That's exactly what he said. And I was completely surprised by that answer, because I thought Swamiji would say, no, be alone. That's the right thing. But then I asked Swamiji, is it okay to hold hands on be in a romantic mood on a spiritual journey? Then he turned to me, looked right in my eyes, and he said, Mukta, is your spirituality so fragile that it'll break by holding hands? And such an amazing question that he asked. It was completely broke my idea of what being spiritual is, what life is. I had drawn such boundaries between certain parts of my life. If I said, if you're spiritual, you can't do this, all those boundaries just broke away. And it not only changed how I relate to people around me, Ma Muktika and others, but also everything in my life, everything that I do in life. So these are such transformative moments that you cannot get otherwise. It's only in the presence of a guru that you get that. So
he really fulfills you. He knows exactly where you need the empowerment. He knows exactly what patterns you're going through. And he knows exactly what you need to go beyond that, to break those patterns, to have the strength to understand and break it, and to elevate yourself, right? And there is one thing he always tells anybody: the moment you are there in my presence, or the moment when we are in his energy field, and we accept him as our guru, right? He is responsible for us. He takes us all the way through to enlightenment. There is no letting go. His hand is always outstretched. It is just us holding on to his hand and saying, Swamiji, lead us. And that space is so powerful. And I think one thing I've seen, we don't worry once we come to Swamiji. That's one of the most fundamental shifts I think all of us have. It's as if we're so relaxed that somebody else is like a cosmic being. The avatar is doing the thinking for us. All we have to do is make ourselves present, and we have to, use our hands and legs and make things happen as he's guiding. And it's such a blissful process. I don't think we've worried much about our kids. We've not worried about anything much, It's been a flowing journey. And as and when our patterns come, or as and when there are impossibilities, he shows us how to overcome. He shows us how to get into the right space, what cognitions to think through, how to, become more mature in our understandings. So that's the beauty of the journey so far.
Yeah, I just want to summarize it with one sentence. Normally Swamiji says, people think that I'll take care of my family, Swamiji will take care of Sangha and Hinduism. He says it's the other way around. If you take care of the Sangha by supporting, like being as SJP, like that, then I will take care of your family. And what I feel is he can take care of us and my family much better than I can. So that's what Ma Muktika means by saying we don't worry anymore. I don't worry about my family anymore. All I worry about, hey, how can we do Swamiji's work better? How can we support the Sangha better? And everything else is taken care of. So that is a long answer to
The two lines.
But truly, it was so beautiful, the experience that you guys shared, and the two punchlines that Swamiji shared. I mean, it is so apt, so precise, not one word extra, not one word less, but it can bring that lifetimes of transformation. Like, so powerful what you guys shared here, really. And with the same spirit, would like to call out for all the people and all the participants and viewers out there. What Swamiji is doing to the world is something so profound. Each and every being, the whole Kailasa, what we have today, is formed by Swamiji's intense hard work and extreme compassion and love for humanity. Like what Muktaya and Muktika Ma shared today as their personal journey and their transformation. Like this, Swamiji has transformed and given a personal impact to so many thousands of people. And it is not just an individual level, the whole impact lands in community, as a community, through this ecosystems in Sarvanya Pita. So when you become part of Sarvanya Pita, you are part of this change that Swamiji wants to bring in the entire world. So if you feel inspired and if you really feel that, yes, this is something which you want to do in your life, be part of this change and bring that happiness, true happiness in the world, sign up in the sksjp.org/contribute. And now we can get into the next segment of this show today. Aya, who are we having in the show next?
Thank you, Ma. One thing that you said before we went with the previous, after Dr. Peter had spoken, you talked about how Swamiji is transforming so many different aspects of this world.
Yes.
One aspect that is very important is youth. And the contribution Swamiji has made to youth, how young people can step up and to the next level. One thing I always think is how would it have been different in my life if I had met Swamiji when I was much younger, right? And so I look at the youth of today who are connected with Swamiji, and I envy them because they have had exposure to him such a young age. I want to invite two people, Alejandra Ruiz, and then Suhas, who are a very core part of the volunteer group here, who are doing an amazing job. I want to start with Alejandra. Alejandra, I know you are a great volunteer here and very close devotee of Swamiji. But again, just like Dr. Peter before, you are not born as a Hindu. You became a Hindu in your life. So tell me a little bit about that transformation towards Hinduism and how you met Swamiji and how you came to be a Hindu, what it means in your life.
And thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so as mentioned, I'm not a born Hindu. I grew up in a more Catholic background, and I didn't really have a good sense about religion or spirituality at all. I didn't really know what it meant to really connect with God, but I knew in my heart that was something that I was always looking for. It had gotten to a point where I was seeking for that. I was seeking to fully understand what does it mean to be with God, connect with God, and how to bridge that connection. And so it took a little bit of a time for me to figure that out. And it unfortunately had to lead through me going through a deep depression. So I had gone through a really deep depression, not knowing what was the purpose of my life, even questioning the purpose of why I should even exist. Why am I even here living? And so that deep depression also brought a lot of anxiety to my life. So I was living with a lot of anxiety. Every day I would wake up almost like super nauseous, to the point where I was always like throwing up in the morning due to anxiety. And so I was realizing that I didn't want to live that way anymore. I was tired of having that suffering, that anxiety, that depression, and I wanted something more from my life. So I started to learn about meditation. And so I wanted to learn how to meditate so that I can calm that anxiety. And so through Ezekiel, my now husband, he was teaching me how to meditate. And so through that process, he was talking to me about Swamiji, and he did like showed me his videos about completion. And so through that process, I felt really connected with Swamiji. And so I didn't know who he was or what he was about or anything, but whenever I would see his videos, I just felt really connected to him, and I would just start weeping. My eyes, I would just cry and cry and cry. I used to watch a lot of oneness capsules. I didn't even know what that was or what it was for, but I used to just watch him, and I used to really like them, and I would just cry there. And it was just such a beautiful experience and just an instant connection. And so through that experience, I realized I wanted to explore more about Hinduism and what it was about and how I can get more connected. And so at that time I was living in Oregon, which is about where we are now, right? Near Montclair. And so I was in Oregon and got to do the Paramashivam level 2 online. And so after that, my whole world changed after that. I feel like I finally realized what it means to connect with God, Paramashiva, right? And to feel that oneness experience. And my life was different after that. Now I was like understanding that I wanted to center my life solely around this. So spirituality became the main pillar in my life that I knew I needed to strengthen. And so through that, I recognized that I needed to move closer to the temple and get as involved as possible in the spiritual community. And so the jump, right? It was scary for me. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have anything. So I didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to live. But I decided to do it anyways. So I moved out here, and it did take me a couple months to find a job. But now I have a great job, like 13-15 minutes from the temple, and I live 5 minutes from the temple. And so it's been just a beautiful experience to have that journey of becoming a Hindu. And so
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great, Ma. Now you're in your 20s. When you see other youth around you and what they are going through, and compare that to your experience and what you have gained, could you say a little bit more about any youth who is in the audience watching? What is it that they can gain by moving close to an enlightenment ecosystem like LA and being a part of it?
Yeah, definitely. So what I've noticed just from seeing other youth around my age, so I'm currently 25. I met Swamiji at 22. Most people around what they're going through now is what I was going through before, right? Which is that anxiety, depression, feeling like they have no purpose, not understanding why they're here, and just feeling lost. And so through connecting with Swamiji and through the enlightenment experience and the ecosystem here at LA, it just brings so much bliss to your life, and it gives you a space where you can be your authentic self and have people to accept you for who you really are, and feel that unconditional love from Swamiji, because that's the first time I've ever experienced true unconditional love is through Swamiji. And so that's what most of us are wanting and lacking in our life. And so if the youth can just open themselves up to that experience, I know they won't regret it, because I definitely did not. And I know life is just for expansion, right? And I've seen it in my own personal life, how I've been able to expand, even within the temple, being able to volunteer. I'm almost at the temple, I think, almost every day. And so just getting to be part of this community has brought so much bliss to my life.
That's so awesome. Thank you,
Can I
Ma.
ask a question to Ma Alejandra?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ma Alejandra, I wanted to ask, given the powerful experiences that you have been having the last few years as you've traversed your journey, how do you feel you are able to take this to the youth out there, right? Just like how you were sharing, there are so many out there who are looking for support, who are looking for help, who need some way in which something grounds them as they find their purpose in life, right? So how do you feel you would like to take it across to the youth, or what kind of support do you see happening in the ecosystems that Swamiji has evolved that will support you in this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can see there being maybe like a youth group at the temple being started or something like that, which is something that I've been interested in myself, just like being a youth leader, showing for other youth how they also can be youth leaders, because that's how it starts, right? You see somebody and you get inspired and you're like, oh, I want to be like them, right? And I think me starting to now teach the Learnings from Living Enlightenment class, right? That's an introduction, and as to me as a youth leader, I can bring in more youth and share with them the Swamiji's words, right? And being able to bring that experience to them as it's happened for me. And so I think it's definitely also maybe going out into the community and going out to places where youth are currently hanging out, colleges, anywhere, right? Where they're just hanging out, or meeting them where they're at, so that we can bring them in, because I definitely think it's something that all youth should experience, because it's definitely not a good feeling, that lost feeling, right? It's not a good feeling. So I know how that is, and I think it's great to have that connection with Swamiji.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Alejandra. Now we'll bring in Suhas. Suhas, so I wanted to ask you a question. So I know that when you were, Suhas is our son. So when he grew up with Swamiji, and of course he came with us to a lot of different programs, starting from a very young age. Suhas, can you say a little bit about how you came with us to the programs, but then you discovered Swamiji yourself? So, and that journey on discovering Swamiji and what does it mean to you as more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I met Swamiji when I was 9 years old, back in Seattle. Man, that was a long time ago, actually. He came to our house, and we met him. And I was kind of in that stage where I didn't know what was going on. Like we didn't even go to temples really before then. It was kind of just like we have. It's very common among Indians to have like a closet with the deities and stuff like that. So that was the extent of Hinduism that I knew. And even through the coming years, going to programs and stuff, I didn't fully have. I kind of got like a small understanding of maybe like ego or something like that, but I didn't fully have the context of what benefit I was getting. But the thing is that I realized a lot later is that Swamiji he kind of always had his arm around me, so to speak, right? He never let anything hurt me. Like it's only what I could maybe like see, like he had his arm around me, but I could see over his arm and maybe I could see something. And that's what bothered me. That's all the kind of agitation I had in life. But he was always kind of like me, being like, when you're ready, this is ready. This is here for you. And I'll protect you until, even when you have it, I'll still protect you. And that's kind of the feeling that I have with Swamiji. So like, I would go to programs, and even like the power manifestation stuff in the programs. I've seen some pretty amazing stuff actually in these programs, but I always thought like, oh, it's not really for me, in the sense like I wouldn't be able to do that. That's kind of like for someone better. But the thing is, in the past few years actually is when I got more and more connected to Swamiji, and more connected to the temple actually. And I started coming recently, maybe in the past 2 months, I've been coming and helping at the temple. And it's been such like, it's crazy how I didn't see as much as I've seen now, being with Swamiji and seeing all this. It's like now I'm ready to see what he's offering, what he's been holding up to me this whole time, And so like going and doing seva and like helping out at the temple has been really great. It's almost like you're a car, and most of your life you're kind of in neutral and you're pushing the car with your bare hands. But when you're ready, Swamiji, like he has for you, and you just got to put it in drive and go, And so, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, we're going to ask the same question we asked Alejandra. What do you see in the youth around you, their struggles, and what is it that if you would want to support them and help them understand what is it to be with Swamiji, how would you help them understand that?
I think Swamiji also said this once before, or maybe many times before, but it's just the practical aspect. Like we need to show them that what they start now as kids will grow into something amazing, the more and more they embody it, if like, yeah, because I know mental health is a big thing now and all that stuff, but Hinduism has all the answers, and especially Swamiji has all the answers.
That's exactly what he said. He said we have to show the youth Phalashruti, which means Phalashruti is the benefit of what you do. Mm-hmm. And after every puja, there is benefit, and we chant what the benefit of that puja is, so that people know what you will get. Like that, I think we don't do enough of chanting the benefit that somebody would get from Hinduism, and pointing it out. Second thing is to know that Hinduism has answers for all the problems. And knowing that is very, very critical for youth. I think these are the two things that we have to share with the youth.
And I think like what Alejandra and Suhas have shared, see, it is how they have applied themselves and, been present in the ecosystem, phenomenal change and a difference to them, right? It is how they have utilized the energy and, the nurturing that they have received from the ecosystem that has propelled them forward to feeling successful, feeling empowered, and being able to let go and drop anything that stops them from being who they can be. And I think that's the beauty of it, that, the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. You are training now, you are, empowering yourself with Swamiji's blessings to take you forward, to be the role models, to be the leaders, and to inspire others. And how you have utilized the ecosystem to make that happen is a beautiful sharing that both of you have done today.
So as you also said something about power manifestation and the mystical aspect of being connecting with Swamiji. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, a really good experience I've had is the Nithyanandeshwari deities at the Los Angeles temple. I got the amazing privilege to do Abhishekam to them, like I think a couple of weeks ago. And it's like the craziest change in my life. I generally don't choose to use my willpower a lot, but immediately after that, I started doing all sorts of stuff, like if I want to, I'll pick up my guitar and try to learn. And, I always just have this more of a vigor for everything,
You also
And-
said something about if you think something, it kind of comes true.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit bizarre, but the more and more I do stuff and the more I'm around, if I'm in Swamiji sessions or something, the more I think things, the more they'll start to happen. And the more I say things, they'll start to happen. And I noticed turmeric. Turmeric has been manifesting on my face, even if I'm nowhere near turmeric. If I'm doing something for Swamiji, it'll just go just appear out of nowhere. It's honestly so amazing.
That's amazing. And I know even Ma Muktika has been saying that all she has to do is think of something, think of talking to someone or meeting somebody or wanting something, and it would immediately manifest in her life.
Yes.
So yeah, it's such an amazing space to be in the Los Angeles ecosystem, with everybody who's here and all the hundreds of other volunteers who are part of this ecosystem. Every day they are making it an embassy for Kailasa, where we reach out to the whole ecosystem, we help others. By the way, we serve free food to hundreds of people on a daily basis, and both inside the temple and outside the temple. And obviously, the Montclair city has recognized Swamiji and declared January 3rd as Nithyananda Day. And we have a good relationship with many of the politicians, the cities we have diplomatic relations with the various cities here, including city of Paris and many other local cities, who realize that we are providing so much value to them as the enlightenment ecosystem. We are elevating the whole ecosystem. So nothing is better than being part of this. In fact, one thing that Swamiji said during his Jayanti that I remember which really fulfilled me. You always wonder, am I reaching my life's goal? Am I reaching this purpose of my life? He said, everybody who is till now supported Kailasa, who have been part of Kailasa, who have supported it, you have achieved your life's goal, right? You fulfilled your life's goal. And now you're all part of my victory parade, which is such a fulfilling feeling, knowing that you have done what it is that you are born, and you're part of that already. I don't think there is anything bigger than that. So I really want to thank the Swamiji for creating the LA ecosystem, Kailasa LA ecosystem, and for everyone here who came here to share their experiences so beautifully and so powerfully. With that, I want to end with a Purna Mantra and then hand it over to Ma Pranapriya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Bhagavat Sri Nithyananda Paramashiva Paduka Arpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam. Thank you, Ma Pranapriya, for this opportunity. I hand it over to you to take it over from here.
Thank you so much, Raya. It was so wonderful connecting with all the folks from LA ecosystem. And over to the program today. Would you like to connect with all the participants and viewers today? See what you have experienced just listening to all these beautiful sharings from folks from LA ecosystem is what Swamiji wants to do to every single city, every single place in this world. Creating Kailasa ecosystem is literally making each and every one of us live as Paramashiva, radiate as Paramashiva, and celebrate our existence as Paramashiva. So let us all decide to stand up for this divine cause of Sarvagapita. If you have already decided difficulty, if you're finding any obstacle, any insecurities, whatever is stopping you from manifesting Sarvagapita, you can post your name as somebody who wants to get scanned. So I'll be doing third eye scanning for next few minutes. For anybody who's finding difficulty in manifesting Sarvagapita, but have the intention, you have the intention to do it, but you're finding the obstacle which is not making you to manifest Sarvagapita. So you can post that in the Facebook group. We have already, all you need to do is scan your QR code and then you'll be directed towards the Facebook group and you can post a message that you would like to be scanned. So see Ma Rajeshwari, Ma Kalahartigantananda, Jalandhanastananda, Ma Hilje, Ma Tanu Bhagat, so requesting all the participants, whoever is finding difficulty in manifesting Sarvagapita, you can post your name as a in the group and that you would like to get scanned. Lenzu, yes, I request all the participants to take a few minutes to sign up for sksjp.org/contribute and any obstacles that you are facing in manifesting the Sarvagapita, you can post that in the group and I'll be able to do a third eye scan for each and every one of you, entangle with Swamiji, and let us all manifest the Sarvagapita. It's the grace and blessings of Swamiji. Okay, so we have Jun Namadeva Shivashakti from YouTube, so who has requested for a third eye scan. So I request Jun to please dictate, connect with Swamiji, and let us chant the Mahavakya 3 times. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Yes. Jill, one thing that Swamiji showed very clearly was, see, the conflicts that you are having with your brother. And all the male figures in your family. Today, decide to complete with this and bring oneness in the relationship. Already we've gone through in the last couple of days about how to bring oneness in the relationships. Just decide to declare perpetual completion. Swamiji beautifully has shared that relationship is just a decision. Any relationship that you want to manifest in life, it is just you deciding. Moment you decide, you can always burn any incompletions that is standing between you and the relationship. So today, decide to burn any incompletions that you're having with all the male bodies in the family and your brother. Yes, and with Swamiji's grace and blessings, you'll be able to manifest Sarvamya Beta. And next person who has requested. Okay, so I'm going to scan her. So requesting Magali to please close your eyes and let us chant the Mahavakya.
Sit as Paramashiva. Inhale and exhale deeply.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Visualize, meditate, connect with himself.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
And dissolve.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
All my disciples, now I am initiating Salokya Mukti, Samipya Mukti, Sarubhya Mukti, Sayujya Mukti.
Yes. Ma Magali Karun, one thing that Swamiji showed today was, see, understand the whole context of Sarvamya Pita. Swamiji has beautifully shared that only Tyagis can manifest Kailasa. It is not done by people who hold on to any insecurity. Only Tyagis, only strong Tyagis are going to make the Kailasa happen for the world. Today, you decide to become a Tyagi. When I say Tyagi, all the incompletions, whatever is coming in front of you, just to do a ferocious declaration that they are not part of you. Moment you start declaring ferociously, you will see the patterns do not have impact on you anymore. Literally itself will be able to manifest that. So now, I request you to decide to do Tyaga. Whatever you have today, just offer it at the feet of Swamiji, at the feet of Paramashiva. You will see literally how this will give you that quantum push. Whatever push that you are expecting in life, simply you will get it once you make this jump. So with this, we will go to the next person who would like to get scanned. It is Oza Gaharje. Okay. So, so we will now scan Ma Oza Gaharje. So requesting all the participants to be seated with your Mahavakya on. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivam.
Yes. So now, one thing that Swamiji showed very clearly was, see, you decide today that anybody who comes and asks you for help, you will enrich them, empower them with any teachings of Swamiji. Just do this for 11 people. You will get a positive click, positive shift in your inner space, which will directly help you to manifest SJPK. Right? So when you start enriching all your questions, all your doubts that you hold for yourself and others, you will simply be able to melt them. And all it requires further than that is just the decision to make this happen. Definitely you'll be able to make it happen. Right? So with this, we come to the end of today's segment, where we saw beautiful memories, sharings, and how people's lives are transformed by being in LA ecosystem established by the Supreme Content of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. And we are going to be having the darshan now. The most awaited moment of the day, we will be having the darshan of Swamiji. So requesting all the viewers and participants to please bring your friends who have been part of the same Zoom room, invite all of them, and let us get ready for receiving the darshan. Requesting all the participants to come and settle down.
To the sharings of all of them, each one the types of experiences they shared, and I've been seeing the comments also from all of you. It's been really wonderful. This is how it is to be a part of Swamiji's Kailasa. And now it's time all of us are moving to the next and the most awaited part of our day, which is experiencing the Bhava Samadhi Darshan. Today, we are going to be having the Bhava Samadhi Darshan of Bhagavan Jwara Bhagnamurti. And let us all get ready for that. What is Bhava Samadhi Darshan? The deities, gods, goddesses are real, and they manifest in two forms. One is through the Archavataras, meaning through the deities to the temples. And one more are the Nijavataras, physical embodied form. Archavataras are the deities that we see in temple who radiate the consciousness and being. Nijavataras are embodying physically and manifesting physically also. Through the Archavataras, we can experience, we can connect with them, but unfortunately, because human beings are not mature enough, we cannot get higher level spiritual experience directly from the Archavatara. To bridge this gap, out of immense compassion, the Nijavatara manifests in the physical embodied form and comes down as the physical form, giving us all the Bhava Samadhi Darshan in the Nijavatara. And today we all are going to be experiencing the Bhava Samadhi Darshan of Bhagavan Jwara Bhagnamurti. And today, every one of you that are sitting here with us and receiving the darshan, each of you are going to be initiated with the extraordinary power of healing. And every one of you that have joined with us, every one of you that are sitting here, I request all of you to share with us how you are preparing for the darshan. Just take a selfie, take 2 minutes to take a picture and post on Facebook. And during the Bhava Samadhi darshan, remember that you are sitting directly face to face with the divine. So at that moment, any sankalpa that you create in your inner space, sankalpa means conscious resolution. So any conscious resolution that you take in your inner space manifests as reality. It is that powerful space where the mirroring of neurons, what we call as Shaktini Pada, happens, which means when you see the avatar in front of you, the exact same neural activity that happens in the avatar's brain starts reflecting in your inner space. That means your brain grows, gets awakened to manifest the higher possibilities and powers in life. So during the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, we request every one of you that are here, that are sitting here with us, make sure you are taking part, you're continuously there in the darshan, sitting in front of the camera and receiving it, so do not miss. And now we'll all be entering into the Bhava Samadhi darshan very shortly. We are going to be receiving the darshan of Vaidheeswara, Jwara Bhagnamurti, and the forms of Paramashiva, Purva Samhara Murti and Vishapaharan Murti. So let's all get ready. And we will now be chanting the Dhyana Shloka. Yes. And in the meanwhile, I request every one of you to take a few minutes and please make sure your Panchopachara Puja kit is ready.
Nithyananda Paramashivam Nithyananda Paramashivam Nithyananda Paramashivam Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam.
Technical glitch. Now, let us all get ready to receive the darshan of Bhagavan Jwarabhagna Murti, Vishapaharana Murti, Kurma Samhara Murti, the forms of Paramashiva, all of them who came down to bestow humanity with the science of healing and a lot more. So we will now be chanting the Dhyana Shloka of Vishapaharana Murti. Abhaya Varada Hastam Tankam Sarangayuktam Shashidhara Mahibhusham Pita Vastram Trinetram Shivamasi Kalatyam Tama Vrishabharuda Devam Vishapaharanamisham Chitram Pinchatya Rupam. The form of Vishahara, the Vishapaharana Murti, is as follows. Having the Abhaya and Varada, Tanka and bow, he is wearing the crescent moon on his forehead, wearing yellow clothes and having 3 eyes. He has a dark complexioned body and rides on a bull. Such is the beautiful form of Vishapaharana Murti. Now, let us all get ready to receive the darshan of Vishapaharana Murti.
Now, please, in a deep meditative space, sit at the head, making spinal straight and close your eyes. Start chanting Bhava. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam.
ಜನುಮವು ನಿನ್ನಯ ದರ್ಶನದಿ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಪಾವನವಾಯಿತು ನನ್ನೀ ಜನುಮವು ನಿನ್ನಯ ದರ್ಶನದಿ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಶಿವನಾಗಿ ಗುರುವಾಗಿ ಸದ್ಗತಿಯನ್ನು ಜಗಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಿರುವೆ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದನೇ ನೀ ಶಿವನಾಗಿ ಗುರುವಾಗಿ ಸದ್ಗತಿಯನ್ನು ಜಗಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಿರುವೆ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದನೇ ನೀ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಶಿವಂ ನಿತ್ಯ ಶಿವಂ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಶಿವಂ ನಿತ್ಯ ಶಿವಂ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಶಿವಂ ನಿತ್ಯ ಶಿವಂ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಶಿವಂ ಶಿವನಾಗಿ ನೀ ದೇವಿಗೆ ಇಂದಿತ್ತೆ ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಗುರುವಾಗಿ ನೀ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಿಹೆ ವಿಶ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಯ ಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ತನುವಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಮಶವ ತೆಗೆಯುವನಿ ನೆನೆದವರ ಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸಿರುವನಿ ಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ತನುವಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಮಶವ ತೆಗೆಯುವನಿ ನೆನೆದವರ ಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸಿರುವನಿ ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿ ಬಾಳುವಂತ ಕಲೆಯನ್ನೇ ಕಲಿಸಿದಂತ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದನಿ ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿ ಬಾಳುವಂತ ಕಲೆಯನ್ನೇ ಕಲಿಸಿದಂತ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಕಾಲವೇ ನಿತ್ಯ ಜಪವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲು ವರವನ್ನು ನೀಡಿ ನೀನು ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಸುರಿವೆ ನಿತ್ಯನೇ ನೀ. ಭವರೋಗವ ತಡೆದು ಭಾವದ ಚಿಂತೆಯೆಲ್ಲ ತೊಳೆದು ಕರ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅಳಿಸಿ ಹೊಸ ಜೀವನ ಕೊಡುವೆ. ಪಾವನವೇ ನಾಡಿದು ನಿನ್ನ ಪಾದಗಳ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶದಿ, ಪಾವನವೇ ಬೀಡಿದು ನಿನ್ನ ಕಲ್ಪತರು ದರ್ಶನದಿ. ಶರಣಂಬನು ನಿತ್ಯೇಶನೇ ನಿನ್ನ ಶರಣಂಬನು ಆನಂದನೇ, ಶರಣಂಬನು ನಿತ್ಯೇಶನೇ ನಿನ್ನ ಶರಣಂಬನು ಆನಂದನೇ. ಸತ್ಯವನರಿವ ನಿನ್ನ ಲೀಲೆಯ ಸವಿವ, ನಿನ್ನ ಸತ್ಯವನರಿವ ನಿನ್ನ ಲೀಲೆಯ ಸವಿವ, ಸತ್ಯವನರಿವ ಲೀಲೆಯ ಸವಿವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ, ಸತ್ಯವನರಿವ ಲೀಲೆಯ ಸವಿವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ, ಕರುಣಿಸು ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ, ಕರುಣಿಸು ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ. ಪೂಜೆಯ ಗೈವ ನಿನ್ನ ರೂಪವ ನೆನವ ನಿನ್ನ ಪೂಜೆಯ ಗೈವ ನಿನ್ನ ರೂಪವ ನೆನವ ಪೂಜೆಯ ರೂಪವನು ನೆನವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಪೂಜೆಯ ರೂಪವನು ನೆನವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಕರುಣಿಸು ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಕರುಣಿಸು ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಂಘವ ಸಿಗುವ ನಿನ್ನ ಚರಣವ ಸೇರುವ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಂಘವ ಸಿಗುವ ನಿನ್ನ ಚರಣವ ಸೇರುವ ಸಂಘವ ಸಿಗುವ ಚರಣವ ಸೇರುವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಸಂಘವ ಸಿಗುವ ಚರಣವ ಸೇರುವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಕರುಣಿಸೋ ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಕರುಣಿಸೋ ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮವ ನೆನೆವ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಿರಿಯ ಗೈವ ನಿನ್ನ ನಾಮವ ನೆನೆವ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಿರಿಯ ಗೈವ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಕರುಣಿಸೋ ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಕರುಣಿಸೋ ನಿರಂತರ ಭಕುತಿಯನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದರು ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದರು ನಾನೇ ನೀನಾದರೂ ನೀನೇ ನಾನಾದರೂ ನಾನೇ ನೀನಾದರೂ ನೀನೇ ನಾನಾದರೂ ನೀನೆ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದೆನ್ನ ಬಹುದೇನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನೀನೆ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದೆನ್ನ ಬಹುದೇನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದರು ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದರು ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಪಡೆಯದಿದ್ದರು ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ನಂಬಿದ್ದರು ಜ್ಞಾನವ ಪಡೆಯದಿದ್ದರು ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ನಂಬಿದ್ದರು ಸತ್ಯವನರಿಯ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಮಿಥ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಎನ್ನ ನೂಕಬಹುದೇನು ಸತ್ಯವನರಿಯ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಮಿಥ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಎನ್ನ ನೂಕಬಹುದೇನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದರು ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೆ ಎಂದರು ಒಪ್ಪಿಸಬಹುದೇನು ದಾಸಿಯೇ ನಾನಾಗಿದ್ದರೂ ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ದಾನವರಿಗೆನ್ನ ಒಪ್ಪಿಸಬಹುದೇನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೇ ಎಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೇ ಎಂದರು ಹರಿಯದವರು ಅರಿತಂತಿದ್ದರು ಹರಿಯದವರು ಅರಿತಂತಿದ್ದರು ಅರಿತವರು ಅರಿಯದಂತಿದ್ದರು ಅರಿತವರು ಅರಿಯದಂತಿದ್ದರು ಇದೆಲ್ಲವರ ಅರಿವು ನಿನಗಿದ್ದರು ನಿತ್ಯ ಇದೆಲ್ಲವರ ಅರಿವು ನಿನಗಿದ್ದರು ಅರಿಯದವನಂತೆ ನೀ ಸುಮ್ಮನಿರಬಹುದೇನು ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೇ ಎಂದರು ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೇ ಎಂದರು ಭಕ್ತಿಯೇ ಮೇಲೆಂದರು ಮುಕ್ತಿಯೇ ಸಖ್ಯವೆಂದರು ಭಕ್ತಿಯೇ ಮೇಲೆಂದರು ಮುಕ್ತಿಯೇ ಸಖ್ಯವೆಂದರು ಇದೇ ನಾನು ಬಯಸದಿದ್ದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನಿಡಬಾರದೇನು ಇದೇ ನಾನು ಬಯಸದಿದ್ದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಾನ್ನಿಧ್ಯವನ್ನು ನೀಡಬಾರದೇನು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ನಿನ್ನನೇ ನಂಬಿ ಬಂದರು ನಿತ್ಯಾನಂದ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನೀನೇ ಎಂದರು
नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम् ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम् नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम् ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम्